Pumped.
Yeah, we got a lot of good news, I guess, to share.
We got some good news for a change. Yahoo.
We'll see how good, though. I don't want to get too rambunctious with that, because you just never know. But yeah, the Constitutional Coalition met with the governor on Saturday, Jack, and we're going to devote the second half of the show, which, by the way, will run an hour and a half today. So the last 45 minutes will be a review primarily of what's been happening with Governor LePage since we got him elected, and then he was turned over to the Maine Heritage Policy Center and the neocons. Very interesting meeting you guys had with him, and we'll certainly cover that. But before we do it, let's do everything decently in order, as we always do. We're going to Scripture first, then announcements. What are we currently saving people into, folks? A godless world religion? A CFR-inspired, purpose-driven life? Lining them up to be destroyed physically and maybe even spiritually in the coming Christian Holocaust? Germany did when they went along with Hitler. Okay? We are being set up exactly the same way.
The church growth is not bad in itself.
No, but they're following the Hitler playbook to a T. The only difference is the coming Holocaust will be against Christians and not Jews this time. Folks, you've got to stand up and be counted now while you still can, while your voice still matters, because pretty soon it won't. If you go to mainerepublic.com, you can still sign on to the remonstrance, which is there, and it's basically just...
If you have not signed that yet, folks, please go there right now and sign it. I will keep a running total as to how many people will sign that as we're on the air today. This is important. We finally have found a way to address these people that they have to respond.
I will say this, though. If you sign that document, it's like signing the Declaration of Independence, folks. Just keep that in mind. Okay? When we're talking about the New World Order, they are taking names, and they're checking their lists and checking them twice. But do not be afraid. They can only take the body. They cannot take the spirit. Happy 100th anniversary to the 16th Amendment. Today is the 100th anniversary of the income tax. Yeah, 100 years ago
celebrate.
Today.
Let's celebrate by tearing up your W-2 form, people.
Yeah.
That's a voluntary note, in case you don't remember, in case you didn't bother to read it. It's a voluntary, please take my money and send it to the federal government.
And stand with the Lord at these clinics and try to save those mothers and save those children. Every Wednesday in front of the Mabel Wadsworth Murder Center, 700 Mount Hope Avenue in Bangor. Great detail in the article talking about the 2008 announcement by Obama of the need for a civilian national security force that's every bit as powerful as the military. By the way, he hasn't mentioned that again for the last 4 years, but they have been stockpiling billions of rounds of hollow points and other deadly, sets of ammunition for use by...
Always make the distinction that these rounds can never be used by the military in international conflict. These can only be used domestically against American people because they violate the Geneva Convention.
Suggested that what Obama had in mind might be something very sinister indeed, perhaps some kind of domestic Big Brother program. Folks, this is, again, we're following Hitler's blueprint. Go back and read. Absolutely. I mean, we are literally watching them roll out every aspect of Hitler's Germany. The TSA is the Gestapo.
One of our guests is asking about a really good question. I hadn't thought of this. Where are they stockpiling all this ammo? That stuff takes up some serious room, and it's got some serious weight. You start talking about 1.5 billion or 2 billion rounds.
FEMA, I'll answer that question. I don't have proof, but I know it to be true. Just know it in my bones. In the fusion centers around America and in the FEMA concentration camps, I'll guarantee you there's a nice supply sitting right there in Fort Fairfield. Again, folks, do not allow anyone to say Maine passed a law. We didn't pass anything, okay? The queers who control the Maine GOP worked with the queers that control the Maine Democratic Party and helped to rig the vote to make it look like we passed that. We did not. I'll guarantee it. Of course, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for publicity on the fact that this guy in the White House is not even an American citizen, let alone.
Then we all need to go in. We all need to go in and attempt to buy a firearm and fill out the background check information and refuse to do it, refuse to comply until we get, and we'll make ours public as soon as Barry makes his background check public.
LePage again warned school children not to trust Maine's daily newspapers. And, of course, that has all the liberals in a tizzy this morning. And we're gaining, Jack. It's a slow process, but we're gaining on these communists who run our large daily newspapers. And, of course,
this thing is making me crazy. This is making me crazy. I have close personal acquaintances who are endorsing queer Boy Scouts because of tolerance.
Oh, my goodness.
You want to put your children, your grandchildren, you want to put my grandchildren into Boy Scouts with a bunch of bags? I'm sorry. Just set your kids up. You're setting your kids up for molestation.
That's right. I'm telling you, I don't think
let's go camping. Let's go camping. Let's go for a walk in the woods.
I don't think there are more than a very tiny percentage of the homosexual population that came that way, i.e., all by themselves, naturally, if you want to say that, purely through the devil.
Unfortunately, that part
older adult homosexuals to recruit younger ones into that lifestyle through homosexual rape. It happens all the time, including to my own father, if you want to know why. Part of me is very concerned about it more than the average person. I know it happens, and I know what it's done to our family. Okay? You cannot permit these homosexual radicals to be holding leaderships in the Boy Scouts because the pedophilic element within the homosexual community will seek out those positions. Don't you understand? They need to recruit. You cannot create a future homosexual by doing something that you shouldn't do with your organ with another man. The only way you can get more people into that lifestyle is by raping them, abusing them, warping them, twisting them, and dragging them into it. Of the victims, so-called families who lost children, their home locations, Jack, are all along the loop, the Iroquois gas line loop, which goes around Newtown into Sandy Hook. Also, someone on that website, sandyhooktruth.wordpress.com, has been examining real estate records on the mortgage records, etc., for the owners of these homes where these so-called parents of dead children supposedly live. And in there's not a mortgage among them.
What?
All the parents have no mortgages, Jack. Okay?
How come nobody's paying my mortgage?
I don't know. Maybe it's because you didn't participate in a false flag terror operation that was going to destroy our Second Amendment rights, Jack. It's amazing how many of these families are coming out speaking for gun control, Jack. Just so convenient.
You know what gun control is, right?
Nice tight grouping around a center.
Nice, yeah. 5 shots in the red.
Exactly. Thanks for the memories, which is a fascinating compilation of what she says happened to her throughout her life. She was supposedly abused as an infant and brought into mind control slavery as a very, very young child, and supposedly went up through the ranks and has had sex with every president from JFK through Reagan, etc. But her book makes it clear that of course, there's lots of triggers that these MK-Ultra monarch mind slave controllers use to trigger their mind-controlled subjects to do their bidding. And one of those is the song Over the Rainbow. And the whole deal there with the Wizard of Oz, that whole thing is brought in and used by the mind controllers, the MK-Ultra CIA people, to control their mind-controlled slaves. This article at VigilantCitizen.com in that connection is very interesting. It's titled, Sandy Hook Survivors Are Made to Sing Over the Rainbow to Commemorate the Shooting. And it shows a group of school children. A quick break here. When we get back, we're going to talk all about, Jack, your meeting. You were there personally, and that's awesome, with 3 other members of the Constitutional Coalition.
Still pinching myself.
Yeah, which was, you were actually given, 40 minutes extra than you were promised with the governor?
Oh, yeah.
You guys actually said we've got to go. It wasn't him that brought it to a close, which is all by itself quite interesting. Watch out, New World Order. Watch out, Dianne Feinstein, Chucky Schumer, Joe Lieberman, and all you gun grabbers out there. We're on to you. We know what your agenda is. We know you want to disarm the patriots of America so you can finalize your plans for a new world order and you can begin your Holocaust against America's Christian population. And we are not going to permit it. The Constitutional Coalition, or let's say being gate-kept away from the Constitutional Coalition, primarily by the rhinos and the neocons at the Maine Heritage Policy Center, finally met with us again over the weekend, huh?
It was awesome. I was so pleased that he listened and took notes and responded. He's either an incredibly good liar or he really gets it.
Well, I can't wait to hear the Bolsheviks in Bangor screaming about why would he even have an audience with radical centrists like us.
This through the remonstrance process, which is a constitutional process.
Can they still look? Can folks still read the remonstrance at MaineRepublic.com?
Oh yes, it's all right there. It's right there. Please read this thing. Now, let me tell you also that we asked, actually Phil Merletti asked during the meeting if Governor LePage believed that this was the legal avenue to address these issues. And his answer was yes, this is the legal way to do this. So that was encouraging.
Wow. Didn't you tell me he was furious that he never got it?
He was furious. He called, Phil Merletti got a call the next morning accusing us of going around him. Why didn't we give him a chance to respond? We know him. What's going on? And Phil said, wait a minute. We have a signed receipt that it was given to you, and I presented another one just before the thing. Well, Governor LePage calmed right down, said, I will see you. Let's get an appointment set up, and it was done within minutes.
About the gatekeepers, did he tell you he was going to do something about these gatekeepers who are keeping him from the people who got him elected, or did he just kind of blow past that?
At first he said there would be firings. We know that there is huge complicity in every aspect of this rotten government, whether you're talking about the left or the right. The left is controlled by the loons, and the right is controlled by who? The Maine Heritage Policy Center, who are gatekeeping the governor.
I'll give you a 7-letter response as to who's probably pulling even their strings to making sure that we don't get to our governor, and it's spelled Olympia. I can almost guarantee you, Jack, that
that's a
the wicked witch, who's now supposedly out of office, is going to continue to pull the strings to make sure that Paul is insulated from us.
Here's the deal. Here's the law. Here's what happened. You can't do that. Here's the law. Here's what happened. You can't do that. And at each turn, the governor said, yes, I get it. I get it. Essentially, on this one especially, he said he's getting shot at from both sides. And then he said, if I go any further with this bill, with this refusal to take federal money, they will surround this building and kill me.
Say that again.
He believes that if he goes any further in refusing federal money, that they will surround the building and kill him.
Did he mean
and I
literally,
said, I believe he thinks that literally. I believe it's absolutely literally. I said, well, if you call, we'll come and defend you.
Amen. swore to her that they had proof and information that Jim Longley was poisoned while in office because he was acting patriotically and probably would have never allowed Lurk to happen, for example, or would have gotten rid of it even.
Is on election night. On election night, I believe that he was being controlled as the votes were being counted because some of my friends were there in Waterville at the place where Paul was, where Governor LePage was, and his demeanor changed. I stood up and I had this blown-up copy of a $10 bill. $10 bill. Believe me, that's not what it is. This Federal Reserve note. And I walked over to the governor and I said, "Can you read this, sir?" And he was having trouble reading it because we're all getting old and in the glass thing, you know. And it says, "This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and is redeemable in lawful money at the United States Treasury or any Federal Reserve bank." I said, "Is that on the bill you have in your pocket? You got any money in your pocket, Governor?" It's not on there. Did they make a law? Did they change the law? Did somebody pass a resolution? No, they just erased it when they had us brainwashed enough. I said, this comes back to, and we went all the way back to the Tavistock Institute, and we talked about that too. We brought up all these subjects, and it was wonderful because he was absorbing it, and he was taking notes.
But did he tell you specifically whether or not he would allow our sheriffs to enforce Obama gun control in Maine?
He wants the sheriffs to do the right thing, and that means no federal regulation of firearms in this state. That document, and Phil Merletti handing him a copy of it, that document says that all four of us are domestic terrorists. Do you understand where we stand? And the governor looked at that, and his eyes got big, and he shook his head, and he handed it to his cohort next to him and said, "Have you ever seen this before?" And he said no. But the governor said, "This is incredible." And Phil had already circled the most egregious stuff in there. And the governor was going down reading it, and I'm watching his face as he's reading this thing. This is a government-issued curriculum mandatory for every law enforcement officer in this state, and it's telling them that anybody that says they're a sovereign citizen is a domestic terrorist. The FBI statement at the beginning says that the sovereign citizen is the greatest domestic terror threat in this country.
Those sovereign citizens now, according to the corporate criminal syndicate, guided by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds of Europe, and the Queen of England, who are now saying we are domestic terrorists. Do you people get that? Is your pastor telling you this? Why not? Jack, you're absolutely right. We have a serious, serious problem, and they're going to apparently now have to also kill the governor to get to us, if that's what they're planning. And, folks, we must physically support this governor. He may even need a new security detail, Jack.
I volunteered.
That's how serious we're talking.
That's right. I believe that if he actually does the right thing, if he actually takes the strongest stand, his life is in danger. Just the same as we talked about with Ron Paul. If Ron Paul had gotten the nomination, they would have killed him.
That's right.
There's no doubt. That's not a joke. That's not euphemism. You need to call this guy Justin L. Alfond. He is the president of Maine Senate. He is in breach of his fiduciary duty because they did not respond to a lawful certificate of service. Then you go over to the Speaker of the House, Mark Ives, breach of your oath, and we also discussed this there, that as far as I know, the penalty for high treason hasn't changed in 100 years.
Right.
And I didn't say it, but the governor said it. I never opened my mouth and said the word. The governor looked at us and looked at his buddy and said, "They're talking about hanging him."
That's right.
I said, praise the Lord, let's hang a few. We'll be done with this crap.
They may end up using that governor to take that list of folks who signed this remonstrance and somehow through the feds or the Rockefellers or whoever use that list to come after Maine's Patriots community. And I'm very, very concerned about that. I'm pretty sure the governor could probably escape such a raid because he might say, well, I was just pacifying or electioneering.
Sure.
But we got to be very careful now. We have put the governor on notice that we understand what the stakes are in this showdown. The military is being purged right now. We are literally, folks, at our night of the long knives. If you don't know what that is in Hitler's era, go look it up. That's where we are right now.
The President of the Maine Senate and the Speaker of the House, and tell them they are in breach of their fiduciary responsibility. They did not respond to a demand.
All right. We'll talk to you on the radio soon, my brother. Here we go. This is Gary Franchi, interviewing Jim Garrow.
The Obama administration is openly escalating its campaign against private gun ownership and shaking up the top ranks of the military command structure. But is it also preparing to make war on the American population? According to a person identified as a former